welcome back to Countdown to Destruction, episode 5, meaning we are rounding out season 1 of The Leftovers. My name is Matt Waters. I'm joined, as always, by Ben Phillips. Ben Phillips, fuck Batman. Just to date the episode.
Have you seen the Titans trailer?
Yeah, that's why I was saying it. Just to date this episode, fuck Batman.
I've not actually finished watching it yet. I just know that he says fuck Batman. Someone did a ranking of worst lines in comic movies ever, or TV shows, and that was included.
God, it's edgy. He says fuck.
There were 2 lines from Batman v Superman on that list as well, nice. Which I think is fair.
He looks like Tim Drake. He talks like Jason Todd. He is very much not Dick Grayson, but never mind all that. Ben, how are you?
I'm good.
I may edit that out, I don't know. It'll be very dated by the time this airs. So yes, this is our Leftovers podcast. If you don't know the drill by now, why are you starting on episode 5? But I have never seen The Leftovers before. Ben has seen it a whole bunch. He spent many years trying to convince me to watch it, so we are viewing these from the perspective of a first-time viewer and a guy who sort of knows where it's all going and can sort of, pinpoint all the foreshadowing and give all the little juicy tidbits and whatnot. So we have the 2 final episodes of season 1 already. What a wonderful time. This was a great way to pitch it to me. There's not many episodes.
Yeah, I mean, we are more than a third of the way through the show because the final season only has 8 episodes.
I know, it's great. It's also sad because now I'm starting to dig it. I'm like, I wish there was way more of this, but I also get the feeling so much intense shit is going to happen that I probably wouldn't want it to go on indefinitely. Good news, I got to finish watching an episode I accidentally started 2 weeks ago, which is The Garveys at Their Best, which first aired August 24th, 2014, directed by Daniel Sackheim, who is directing his first episode, and written by Kath Lingenfelter and Damon Lindelof, who brought you The Guest, the episode focusing on Nora in New York. Pretty good episode, pretty good writing duo. We open with Kevin running around the neighborhood, just like he does in the pilot. It's all great, but it's very quickly established that this is pre-departure because he returns home to a different, massive fucking house where Laurie is happily talking and Jill has braces and everything's lovely. So yeah, the whole gimmick of this episode is it's as you work out, as it gets later into it, it's not just before the departure, it's right before the departure, like the day before and the day of.
Yeah, they hint at it a couple of times throughout the episode where they're like, it's warm for October, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it's warm for October, Kevin. Satan and the end of the world are coming, you idiot. There's all these tiny little touches that you can, if you're paying attention, piece together what's going on. I didn't catch all of them. Some of them required Ben's texty help, but just little things that make it clear, and eventually it's just full on spelled out pretty much. So Kevin secretly smokes. And in the next episode we will see him smoke, but I kind of get the impression that he doesn't smoke anymore in the present because he's hiding it here and he no longer has a reason to hide it and we never see him do it. Whether that means he doesn't, that doesn't mean anything, but I believe he doesn't smoke in the present, and he has taped a pack underneath a mailbox that he runs to, and then he mouth washes and all that sort of shit afterwards. But yeah, he has this little secret habit.
Does. I love how everyone calls him out on it. Like Jill, in the car, is just like...
You smell like cigarettes. While he's on his run, he sees a shiny deer in the woods, which, he saw his little encounter with a deer in the... just the pilot, right?
Yeah.
It wrecks up his kitchen, and then, and he dreams about hitting it with his car.
Yeah, the deer's shown up a couple of times, but, the only time we've actually, had physical evidence of the deer was in the pilot.
So he sort of sees this deer in the woods and it's all shimmery, and we'll find out what that is later. There's a mysterious crack in their walls. I mean, it's probably nothing. My house has cracks in the ceilings and the walls and stuff, but it feels very, when you know what happens, it's very end of the world's coming, there's earthquakes and the animals are rioting and all this sort of stuff. Sort of playing into what
It's a metaphor, Matthew.
Well, and there's a crack in the foundations of this family, blah, 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 blah. But it does play into what you were saying in the early episodes where you can interpret things supernaturally, but there is also a quote-unquote real-world explanation for anything that could also be supernatural. So I kind of dig it.
I think that's the thing the show does best, is that no matter what happens on this show, there is an explanation for it. And
so no matter what your sort of sensibilities are, you're getting something. And I think that's pretty cool. Jill, I don't even know what that cat meme is called. You do, you're a child of the internet.
Nyan cat.
Yeah, that, exactly, yes. Her being obsessed with that and Kevin just not getting it is a pretty fun beat to sort of place it in a time period. Jill, as younger than she is in the present, is perhaps the most convincing sort of age down I think I might have ever seen. I legit was like, is this the same actress? Because she's pulling it off, and it's often quite sad when you see these like people trying to play teenage or whatever. Like when you see like the 35-year-old in a rom-com, and it's like, here's a flashback at the very beginning of the movie to when they were 18. It's like, nah, bro, you're 35. Obviously, she's younger than that, so she can do it better. But yeah, it's pretty convincing. She's walking around with braces, and like her voice is a bit different, and she's way happier about everything.
I think she's a bit old for like 14, which is
Sure. I buy that she's younger than she is in the present. And also, she's unrecognisable because she's mega affectionate, and she's like giving Laurie a pass for missing the science fair. It's like, you're the best mum ever! And like gives her a huge hug and everything. It's like, modern day Jill would hold something like that against you forever. And here she is, just like, you're the best mum in the whole wide world. So that's all very telling about how different they all used to be.
I think like it's a really good indictment of like Margaret Qualley is really good, and they just kind of deployed her badly in this first season.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Laurie, we learn...
Do you know who her mother is, by the way?
Who?
Andy motherfucking McDowell.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's cool. Speaking of mothers,
famous daughters to people on this show.
Speaking of mothers, Laurie, we learn, pre-sudden departure, was a psychiatrist, and who was one of her patients but a very erratic Patty. This is not the serene, almost maniacal evil genius Patty that we have been seeing. This is a very jittery, uncomfortable to look at version of Patty. And she claims that something bad is going to happen, going as far as to call this the big one. Laurie points out, you've said these kind of things before, and she's like, those were like tremors, this is big. So yeah, Laurie is a psychiatrist. Laurie tries to associate Patty's sort of assertions about, you can kind of see why she's got all this fucking confidence that she's in the right, because she felt it and it happened. So there you go. But yeah, she tries to assert that this all ties back to Patty's, I guess, ex-husband, Neil. We kind of learned that this man was very abusive to Patty and has her convinced that she is in the wrong. Like she's like, oh, it's his house, he paid for it, to like justify him throwing her out and stuff, and like, very much like the battered housewife kind of thing, which is the complete opposite of where she ends up. And when she says about like shitting out all of her like bad feelings or whatever, Laurie's like, yeah, do that, put it in a bag, write Neil's name on it, leave it on his porch, which, while I may have missed it when it happened in a previous episode somehow, that does happen. And so Patty does this on Laurie's suggestion. I don't know if she if it was meant to be a thing she does regularly, if she was like, oh hey, remember that time you said this to me all those years ago? Let's do that now. I don't know, but it's all very interesting, all this. And Patty, of course, does assert that she believes Laurie can feel it too, but I mean, she denies it, but who knows if she agrees or not. But all of this stuff with Patty about, it's a very different side of Anne Dowd.
Yeah, I think it's just more proof that she's so damn good. She is a completely different person in this episode.
The range she shows in these episodes, haunting. Because there's going to be some stuff in the next one. Yeah, I like the idea of the crazy person was right all along or whatever. Anyway, back to Kevin, because this show revolves around...
She's like she almost is vindicated by getting it right.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Kevin, he witnesses the aftermath of this rogue deer that has wrecked up the school. Very reminiscent of how the deer wrecks up his kitchen in the pilot. But he's called away because Tommy, not Tom, they frequently call him Tommy, has been detained by police. We quickly find out that he basically got drunk and went and confronted his biological father, who Kevin violently assaults on his front porch in front of this man's young son. Now, I found it very interesting that Tom calls him Dad, not Kevin, and also he agrees when Kevin asserts, I'm your father, and all this kind of stuff, because, he obviously ran away from home, or left home, and he doesn't return Kevin's calls, and he is in touch with Jill but not Kevin. So I read it all as, when we find out he's adopted, I was like, oh, okay. I guess it's a whole "you're not my real dad" type thing. That is all thrown completely out the window here, because he very much treats him as his father, and they even imply that they've only recently told him that he's adopted, or maybe have only recently told him who his dad is, or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's implied that they told him when he turned 18 and he went off to college kind of thing.
Yeah. Kevin continues to not be good with anger. He threatens to fucking kill this man. And then when the kid's looking at him, and Kevin's got that look of oh fuck. I mean, I've done it now, so off I go. But we continue to see Kevin. He doesn't deal with things well, and he frequently just gets drunk, gets high, and attacks people. Or shoots dogs.
It's also nice because we've, the actor who's playing Tom's biological father has been teased in previous episodes. His photo has appeared.
Yes.
And now he's finally getting to earn an actual paycheck for this episode. Leftovers does like to slow roll some things.
So when they get home together, Tommy is immediately very affectionate with Laurie, very affectionate with Jill. He comes across so much more likeable in this episode than anything we've seen from him in the season so far. His and Jill's relationship is genuinely, really heartwarming, and, Laurie talking to him about his tattoos, not big. It's a very idealistic, almost over the top, ideal 2.4 children of all-American family or whatever. But it's nice seeing all this warmth from him when he's been so either stupid or broody.
It's a different side to the actor, and I think it's a good side to the actor.
Now I'm oh, maybe he's a good actor. Before I was I guess he's a dude with a face. No, I thought he was bad, but now I'm oh, he might be good. So Kevin Sr. briefs the station about all these deer incidents across the town. Kevin Jr. believes it's the same deer in multiple locations, so his father, almost mockingly agrees to let Kevin Jr. try and tranquilize it rather than kill it. He's I'll get you the tranq gun. I'll give you the location if it's seen. If you can get there before someone with a real gun, I'll let you tranq it or whatever. I don't know, it seems somewhat foreshadowing of Kevin's little bet with Dean that he could domesticate the dog and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, despite evidence to the contrary in terms of Kevin's animal killing proclivities, yes. He does like animals.
I don't know, I kind of want to see... I don't want to see, but I want... Well, I guess I saw when Dean actually talked him into it in real time, but it just seems very out of character. Anyway, Kevin Sr. is also openly aware of this big surprise party they're throwing him as Mapleton Man of the Year, but they do throw it anyway. Earlier in the episode, Laurie's getting on at Kevin to pick up a cake or whatever, and everyone's saying he knows, by the way, but they go ahead with it anyway. And the party scenes, I think, are also really nice. It's a weird comment, I think, but the dancing, specifically Tom dancing with Kevin Sr. I don't know, it's really warm and authentic. It's not goofy dancing, it's not embarrassing or anything like that. It's just these people are all having fun and seeing these three generations of, I don't know if they're all Garveys, I don't know, whatever.
I mean, they're all Garvey children, obviously one of them is not.
Sure. These three generations of this family, the males, all bonding together. It's all really nice. Again, it's I think it's trying to be almost over the top with how unified they are in comparison to where they end up, just to show how far they've come. But I really dug the party that they were throwing for him. Kevin gives a very nice speech to his father, basically just praising him and saying he gave him everything and whatever. But Kevin Sr. susses it out, and they have a little private talk wherein Kevin Jr. is just pretty much every sort of late 20 to 30 something white dude with malaise being all is this all there is this enough, all that kind of stuff. And Kevin Sr. in a massive turnabout, well, I guess where he ends up is a turnabout, he says, "You have no greater purpose." When, what did we last see him doing? Telling Kevin Jr. that he had a purpose. Kevin's depression. He's clearly depressed in the present, but his whole family have left him, so you can figure that out. But yeah, you do get this sense that this is a guy that... I don't want to get too heavily into this because this is a very deep topic to unpack, but it certainly feels that thing of well, now what? I've got all this, I've got nothing to be sad about, but I don't feel happy. I should be lucky, I should feel privileged for all these things, but I feel this sense of blah. And he's trying to express that to his father, who kind of just is nah.
It's very much that kind of that idea behind depression where it isn't explainable.
Yeah, you feel guilty for feeling sad because there are people who have it worse than you, but that doesn't invalidate your feelings of sadness.
Yeah, and I think it's that thing where, like, when you read interviews with Damon Lindelof after the season airs, and he kind of talked very publicly about he was dealing with some stuff during this season, and you can definitely see that Kevin was a cipher for him dealing with some of these things, and Kevin is like one of the truest depictions of depression you'll probably see on television. Like I think it's like that and BoJack.
Yeah, BoJack. I hope you're looking forward to our BoJack podcast. Yeah, so the next morning, still very depressed, he has a weird little incident with this. He's sitting on the side of the road, and these women drive by, and they ask if he's ready, and then he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And they're like, oh, sorry, we thought you were someone else. And then they drive off, and then a manhole cover explodes in front of him. And it's like, what? What is any of this?
Yeah, like it's part. I just love that the show does these little things where it's like,
is that ever going to go anywhere? Like,
I mean, like those women never come back, but like you do get these repeated hints that Kevin is meant to do something, and his father, these women and stuff like that. It's like, what is Kevin meant to do? Like, is Kevin important?
Well, his father said no a minute ago. So because of this, he comes home all like, oh wow, I'm like happy to be alive. Almost. Yeah, it seems like, you know, he survived something and now he's like happy, but as a consequence he forgets to cover up his smoking, and he kind of gets into a fight with Laurie because I guess he covered up about what happened with Tom as well, so she's sort of like, hey, you're lying to me a lot.
Yeah, she's had this conversation with Tom about him going to see his birth father, and she feels like they're obviously not a in sync unit, or not as in sync as you would think they are.
And they get into this argument, and they have been talking about adopting a dog in the middle of this. And Laurie actually went to the dog breeder, who is Gladys, and she cries when she picks up this one dog. You could very easily piece this together with a previous scene where there was a call from a doctor talking about a point of no return. She's pregnant, everyone, and, well, if your mind is a horror show, you can guess where it all ends up. But he says he doesn't want a dog. He was going to get one because she did. And, I mean, he gets a call about the deer, and she's like, oh, maybe it feels trapped. And he says, fuck you, Laurie. It's like, Jesus, were these your last words? Well, no. I keep forgetting she didn't walk out the day it happened. Like, in my head, as soon as it happened, off she was with the GR. But, like, they stayed together for, like, a year and a half or 2.5 years.
Yeah, like, they stayed together for a while.
Yeah, but imagine if she had vanished and his last words to her were, fuck you, Laurie. He would have some competition with Nora for the saddest pre-departure moment. Or no, Laurie wins. But anyway.
Laurie wins forever.
Yes, it's a very intense conversation those two have. But so he heads over to the house where this deer has been spotted. He tries his best to trank it or whatever, but it's a very scary deer. It's like a horror movie almost. And it runs out into the road and is hit by a woman in a car. Kevin obviously sleeps with her. The house, as you pointed out to me and I didn't immediately click, this is the house of the couple that Nora interviewed when we saw what she does for a living with the son who has Down syndrome. I was kind of like, why are we lingering on this guy sitting on the floor playing with pennies? And then I was like, oh, okay, sorry, I'm not very observant. So yeah, there's that. Nice foreshadowing and whatnot. The deer has... Oh, Kevin has to shoot the deer, by the way. Big manly man. He has to put a deer out of its misery, which of course leads to sex. I feel this is a trope. Like, I feel men kill animals to put them out of their misery and then bang people in TV and films. Who knows? The deer in its antlers has this, like... You get these, like, really cheap party balloons that are, like, shimmery and silver and all that. And it says it's a girl on it, and it's tangled up in its antlers. So that's what was making it all mystical shiny at the beginning. And I guess this is just an incidental balloon, but, you know, it seems like the deer is telling him, your wife is pregnant with a girl. I don't know, but...
Kevin's the deer and he's fucked up his family life and metaphors everywhere.
Yeah, and no one has come along to shoot him in the head to put him out of his misery. I feel this woman... And, like, I knew that it was happening as it was happening. As soon as she was like, oh, yeah, I'm from out of town. And I was like, oh, she's got a hotel. There's no trace. He's gonna bang this girl. I feel when she says, are you a good person? And he says no. And then she responds by inviting him to her hotel. I feel this is a lot of bad men's fantasy. That a woman would reward him for being a bad person with sex. But, I mean, it happened earlier because, I mean, he said to Nora that, like, oh, I cheated on my wife. And she was like, why? And he was like, is there a good answer? And then they end up as a couple, basically, from that. So this dude just keeps getting away with being...
I mean, would you say no?
Ben, these are loaded questions. I mean, him being open about it, I guess, is in some way endearing, even if the circumstances are not. Anyway, speaking of Nora, Nora's story is kind of hard because it sort of plays out as a kind of tension break. It's sort of, we cut away from the Garveys to Nora, and we see her a few times, so I'll just sort of condense it here. But...
yeah, like, Matt shows up a couple of times, but he's actually in scenes with the Garveys at all points, whereas Nora is literally on her own, dealing with her own thing.
Matt is the one that nominated Kevin Senior for Man of the Year, like, going back to that, like, they were friends thing. Anyway, so Nora, basically, the first time we see it, it's domestic bliss. She's got her lovely kids, she's got a dog, she's got a husband who is all like, you want this job? You're going to get it! Yay, mommy, mommy! High fives for everyone, and it's great. And she does this smile that melts my heart. She's preparing for a job interview with the current mayor when she was still a mayoral candidate who had no chance of winning. Kind of seems... I mean, you could maybe put two and two together and say that maybe she ran on a campaign that sort of played into the departure or something, or maybe the current mayor departed, maybe the current mayor lost his shit when it happened and was like, I'm out of here. But yeah, she is interviewing to sort of, I guess, run the campaign or help with the campaign of the mayor. I refuse to learn her name because I know she's not long for this world, but I did know it earlier and I've forgotten. But the mayor.
Lucy Warburton, who's definitely fucking Kevin Senior.
Well, yeah, you lied to me, you liar. Because...
Look, this is not going to work if I tell you the truth every time you ask a question.
Well, I said, did they kiss on the lips? And you were like, nah. And I was like...
They don't kiss on the lips in that scene.
I thought they did. Anyway, he pops his head in the door and he endorses Nora because she says that she doesn't think that Lucy can win. And he's like, yeah, hire her. It's like, oh, okay. That's very telling about all three of these characters. She says the sentence, as far as you're concerned, for the next 4 weeks, I don't have a family, which is unfortunate phrasing. Because it's not 4 weeks, it's forever. The next thing we see with Nora, I guess she's put the kids to bed, her husband comes home, he has no recollection that she was at an interview, doesn't seem to give a shit when she reminds him about it. You very accurately pointed out that the implication here is he's coming back from his affair with the kid's teacher or whatever. And it's just a complete personality flip where we see him at breakfast, super supportive, sickeningly nice, all this, and then he's just like disengaged, non-communicative. He basically infers that her shit isn't as important as his shit, even though his shit isn't real. Like, he's making his shit up, but it's still more important than her having an interview and stuff.
I like how his excuse is like the most banal, like, business person thing. It's like, oh, the market was bad.
He's the worst. So a very clearly pregnant Laurie, as we've previously established, she drives to the doctor's office where Matt has just received an all clear and he elects to get drunk to celebrate. As she's driving over there, Laurie pulls up next to the woman from the pilot with the baby, like the very first departure, the very first character we saw, the very first departure was her baby, and she sort of gives Laurie that look of like, oh, what do you do? And it's like, oh god, you know what's about to happen. Also, there's stuff with Matt, like we established previously that like he had leukemia, and you know there's a potential that they found something or whatever. But yeah, he gets this all clear, and he says, yeah, let's go get drunk. And Mary is like, you get drunk, I'll drive. And there's this horrible implication here that if Matt had not gotten drunk, then he would have been in the position she was. And it's like, yeah, that would suck, but also his wife would be fine. So I am sure he carries around a tremendous amount of guilt.
Well, I think, obviously, the sudden departure is not that much sooner after. I get the feeling that he is not drunk. He is just... They are
sure, but she's driving... Yeah, either way.
Yeah.
She's driving when maybe he would have been... I mean, I don't want to assume, but that is certainly an implication you can make. And I mean, I don't know if he's Catholic, but he's certainly Christian. And, you know... There's a lot of guilt there.
But the thing is, you get the feeling from this episode that he's one of those kind of, like, cool priests. Like, he
wants to get drunk, and he says, I say fuck too.
But, like, I don't know, like, he's got better hair. It's obvious that his wife makes him a lot happier.
Yes, he's a more vibrant person, for sure.
Yeah, and, like, you come to him later on, and he's, like, this very devout, very tightly wound Christian person. Whereas this one, he's one of those more laid back, the kind of person you actually want to hang out with.
Yeah, and he's also devoting all of his spare time to his non-Christian time to making these newsletters that disparage people that have vanished forever. So it's like, not great. This has all been building, all of these storylines, to, of course, the sudden departure which occurs as Laurie is having an ultrasound, Kevin is sleeping with this strange woman, Jill and Tommy are conducting a science experiment as literal innocent youth, and Nora is snapping at her family. All four of these are very different, very effective in their own ways. You can feel the dread coming as you put two and two together and realise this baby vanished from inside Laura. She potentially even saw it disappear off the sonogram screen or the ultrasound screen, which is about the darkest thing I thought I could conceive of. However, Damon Lindelof has it beaten next episode, so what do I know? Kevin looking under the sheets for a woman he was... I mean, I don't know how you want to take this. I took it as he was literally inside her when she vanished. So a baby vanished from inside Laura, and Kevin was inside a woman who then vanished at the exact same time. Who knows? Maybe he just thought she was hiding. I don't know.
It kind of put Jill and Tommy's in a different perspective. It's just like, oh, we were holding hands with someone.
But it is effective because they're doing this dumb science experiment where, like, they're making a human chain that's making a light bulb light up, and then the light goes off and one of them is missing from the chain. It's like, oh shit. It's played really like, hey, what?
The camera never focuses on the moment where they disappear. We don't know they could have come up with some disappearing effect.
Yeah, was it a poof? Was it a pop? Was it...
They all turned to dust?
A flash? Yeah. Did everyone see a bright light? Was it just... Oh, they're gone. Did they freeze for a second? Like, we'll never know. And I think that's a very strong thing that they do here. The most devastating... Well, not the most devastating, because obviously Laurie's thing is horrifying.
I think the one that we've known is coming for a while.
Yes. The one that, like, is drawn out is Nora's, because, I said before that her husband was being kind of shitty the night before, but at breakfast, he's sitting there on his phone, ignoring their children who are screaming and being a bit difficult. And Nora's just trying to, like, get shit done, and she's like, oh, hey, hold that with two hands, and then the kid spills. She screams at the kid, turns around to get kitchen paper to wipe up this spill, and when she turns around, her family are fucking gone. And that's devastating, and she hasn't restocked that kitchen roll since that day, because we saw in the episodes where you see her going about her business while she buys new shopping every week that she throws away the next week, or most of it anyway. That kitchen paper is still like down to its last bit as it was on the day. My word, Carrie Coon, you hurt me because you're so good. Yeah,
I tweeted after these two, because there's a moment in the next one, but like this was like my second shed tear in my rewatch.
It's
like
so sad.
I know, just this
knowing
whole
that
sequence.
The last thing she had with them, like, you get the implication they were generally a really happy family. Like, this dude was being a bit shitty, and we know why, and perhaps that's a very recent behaviour, but on the whole, very wholesome little family. And the one moment where Nora isn't a perfect angel is the exact moment it happens. And her last words to her kids was shouting at them. And
and you get like she put her job momentarily ahead of the kids.
Yeah, she wanted to do one thing for herself, and look what fucking happened.
Yeah, Carrie Coon is a wonder, and this episode is again a continued evidence of the show is really good when it's off format.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love a good gimmick episode, and, the concept of, oh, this one is set on the day. It's like, great, fucking gimme this. Don't give me one flashback per episode, give me one giant flashback as a breakup of the narrative. Because, I mean, the last thing we saw before this was heavy as hell and, like, has major implications for the present day. And then to completely remove the tension of that with, okay, here's a whole episode of happier times, and here's what they were all doing. And it informs a lot about their characters, and it makes you long for better things for some of them, because this is a Jill and a Tom that I would far rather be around than the ones we have in the present. But we'll see.
And I mean, you disagree, but I do think, but you don't think that this is a good reason for Laurie to join the Guilty Remnant?
Look, it's one of the darkest things I've ever come across in any fiction, short of just like, mutilation porn or whatever the fuck ever horror classifies itself as. But like, she has license to be the most depressed person in the world. Like, that's a horrifying thing to happen to you. However, you still have your two kids. You still have your husband. I don't know if Kevin confesses to the affair ever. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe we never will. But losing a baby, like, surely you would want that, like, support system around you, like the only people capable of ever making that feel better. And she walks out on them all. And, like, I know Tom left home, and, like, clearly there were deeper problems with Kevin and Laurie, and like he may not know she's pregnant, but the dog is very clearly kind of a metaphor for the impending baby, and him saying he doesn't want a dog, maybe I don't want another kid, and I don't want to be, and you know, he'll admit next episode he wanted out of this family, kind of, or he felt that thought in his head at least, even if he was never going to do it. So I get it that there were problems, and maybe if we see, I kind of never want to see what happened between the departure and episode 1, but at the same time, it would be interesting to learn what happened with the Garveys a bit more. So it's a kind of, I don't know which version of that I want. But yeah, I just generally with everyone in the Guilty Remnant, I'm just like, nah, fuck you, your reasoning is flawed. But this is certainly a very intense character motivation to give Laurie, regardless of where that leads her. And I can kind of see why she's all conflicted, and like, you know, she'll behave to the letter of the law of the GR, and then she'll like go back for Jill's lighter and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I think this has broken her in some way.
Sure.
And she's kind of making bad choices. And I do think there are elements of, especially the next episode, that kind of prove that she is aware that what is happening is a bad choice.
Yeah, well,
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But it is part of that element. And even though this is what pushed her over the edge, she isn't like fully committed. She isn't Patty. She isn't Gladys. Like Patty's assertion that when it came to Laurie's time, she would sacrifice herself for the Guilty Remnant. I don't think that's true. I don't think Laurie would give up.
I think Laurie's just really wounded. We say how the GR like prey on the vulnerable. Obviously, she would have been at her most vulnerable immediately after this, but I guess that isn't ever going to go away from her. I just get the sense she hurts real bad, and her family is disintegrated, and they offer or claim to offer purpose and whatever. But I don't know. The GR is a whole mess, and we'll get further into it in a minute. So before we move on, are there any like little cutesy Easter eggs or moments in this episode that are meant to be references to things we've seen that I've missed? Like, I know there's something about the mural at the beginning, or a woman.
Yeah, like in episode 1, Kevin runs past a mural and there's like an Asian woman's face, and then in this episode there's like two Asian women who were like doing some gardening, and one of them waves Kevin, and it's obvious that the partner of this person's painted a mural for them on Kevin's front room and stuff like that, like because they departed in this big thing. I don't think there's anything else that I can think of that's like a big old reference to.
Okay, let's move on to the season finale of season 1. The Prodigal Son returns, September 7th, 2015. Directed by Mimi Leder, who did Gladys and Solace for Tired Feet. She is the go-to Leftovers director. Written by Damon Lindelof and Tom Perrotta, the guys that wrote the pilot, the guy that wrote the book, the guy that created the show, our lords and masters. So back to the present, Kevin is still with Patty's corpse. He calls Matt to help deal with it. At Matt's insistence, he reads a passage from the Bible as they bury her, and he cries. So Kevin smokes. As I said, I took this as an implication this was the first time he'd done it for a while, or maybe since the event. He takes one of Patty's cigarettes. No idea about that. Her last cigarette, yeah. Matt is weirdly upbeat about all of this. Like, I know he's a good Christian man, and he believes his friend if he says something, but it's still quite a dark thing to witness and help with, and he's like all smiles about it. It's kind of creepy. The Bible passage, I mean, I saw it yesterday and I assumed I'd remember it, but it was like kind of about not being able to find God and being terrified by God and stuff like this, and it really gets to Kevin, and I don't know, it seems like it's quite fitting with everything that's happening, and that makes sense because Matt picked it out for this exact moment. But yeah, I kind of snooze a bit when there's Christian stuff happening.
I don't know, there's some really cool stuff going on with this. Like, so in the first scene on the commentary, because I listened to the commentary of this one actually in time for the episode.
Well done.
Kevin is like, this is the only crane shot in the entire season, is when the kind of camera kind of like spirals up and you can see Patty's corpse and Kevin kind of sat next to her.
Yeah.
But like they said, they wanted it to be handheld and kind of in your face, and then this is the first time that kind of takes you out of it. But it's such a good shot of Patty lying there in this like blood-stained white uniform on the floor, and Dal does some good dead acting. Yeah,
like all the colour drained out of her. You get the feeling Kevin's been sitting with this for a good long while, because I mean, I guess it's not a short drive for Matt.
No. And then the other bit is like when Kevin is reading the speech, the camera's very like underneath, kind of implied to be from like Patty's point of view, like looking up at Kevin as he's reading this thing. And this is one of my favourite things about Justin Theroux, is that
he's very good.
He's very good. He's really fucking good, but he starts it and there's no emotion in his voice.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, fuck you little Bible verse, and then it gets to him.
And like, it's just that shift where he's like reading it and then he just starts to choke up and like he gets the word departed and like it trips over it or everything like that. And just the way he does it, and it's such a impressive thing because it is something they go back to, is this idea that Kevin doesn't he does emotionally connect with stuff, but when he starts reading poetry or starts reading Bible verse or other stuff, like he does it in a way that he starts with no emotion and then the emotion gets to him in kind of like
you just get
in obvious ways.
You just get the sense he's just one of those people who's like, yeah, whatever, I don't care about anything like this, I'm just a no-nonsense guy, and then the power of poetry and the power of art will get to you, Kevin. Why isn't Justin Theroux an enormous star? I
mean, this could have been it, but obviously, like, as you found out, could you imagine watching the first like 5 episodes of this show for it to get properly good? I think they had high hopes for this based on like who this cast is and like what the concept is, who the creator of it was, and then they watched the episodes and they started going like, what the fuck is this show?
I mean, I feel he's a name I recognise. I think he writes as well. Like, isn't he?
He wrote Iron Man 2.
Yeah, like, of course he did, and also Tropic Thunder, right?
Yeah,
and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, maybe he's more of a like creator than an actor, but I know him from playing Jesus in The 10, which is a great performance by him. But yeah, I just feel he should be a massive star. He's clearly a very, very good actor. And I don't know. I'm stunned by it.
There's a reason I got really fucking excited when he showed up in Last Jedi.
I'm sure, but I mean, is that going to be parlayed into anything else? I don't know. Anyway, as they're driving off, we hear over the radio, Atfek exchanged fire with Gilchrist, but he escaped, basically. And I guessed and later was confirmed to be right that Gilchrist is Holy Wayne. Wayne Gilchrist. Gil-Christ. Anyway.
Fish Jesus.
Fish Jesus. There you go. So Kevin, we see them driving off. We change scenes or whatever. Kevin wakes up and Matt is apologising because he's basically handed him over to the same mental health facility where his father is. He's locked up, and it's like slid a copy of National Geographic for the post-it that's like, if you stop talking to yourself, they'll let you have some TV time. By the by, that post-it is on a page with a map of Cairo, New York. So I think
it's actually Cairo, Egypt.
Oh, is it Cairo, Egypt? Okay.
Yeah.
Not bad. Well, still. It's a cute little thing. So he does get to have his TV time, and he's speaking with his father, and to his horror, he hears Patty's voice. And he turns around, despite Kevin Sr. pleading him to ignore the voices or whatever, or don't turn around. And there she is standing there. And she erotically mounts him and is like kissing up on him. And it's all very, very strange. And I know they have good chemistry, but we're taking this a bit far now. Yeah, so I guess Patty's not gone. And I guess Kevin Jr. is going to be haunted by the visage of Patty, who may try and fuck him. I don't know.
Apparently, like, the direction the Mimi leader gave her was just like, kiss him, but don't tell him when you're going to kiss him.
Hey, consent.
But like the relationship between these two is so fucking good, and I love these two together. And she is so good because she flips on a dime. Like, obviously, last episode we got her as kind of this timid woman, and then this episode we get her being like erotically close to him and like trying to give him advice and stuff like that. And then
she's played a corpse. She's been a mute. She's given monologues. She's been pious. She's been everything.
Like, her wake the fuck up is just so good.
Yeah. Before we get to this like shocking little moment, when he and his father are talking, Kevin Sr. basically asserts that he is a bad person. He has good intentions, but his head, his heart, and his balls, the Holy Trinity, they're all bad. And he says that we're all bad people, and nobody who was left behind after the departure actually wonders why. So he's saying it was the rapture, all the good people went to heaven, we're all the pieces of shit that are left. And I was like, oh, good. Great. I disagree. Nora is an angel. But yeah, and he's sort of foreshadowing the moment, and he's like talking to people that aren't there again, and then he's like, oh, don't turn around, and then Patty's there. But yeah, all very interesting stuff. However,
Matt, what show were they watching on TV?
The dumb real life 80s sitcom called
Perfect Strangers.
Perfect Strangers. There you go. That's it. I'm sure this would have massive impact if Perfect Strangers had been a show that had been on television in the country I'm from, but this is of course the show where the entire cast vanished, so now it's made like a massive cult comeback or whatever, and Amy was watching. Oh, Amy.
R.I.P.
Well, I hope not. We immediately learn, however, none of this was real. It's really difficult to tell with Kevin what's a dream and what's him just losing time and waking up in a different place. This was a dream. Perhaps, because he wakes up back in the car. He and Matt go into a diner. Matt's basically needling him about what Patty's last words were. We'll get into this, but he also confesses that he wanted to leave his family and that he slept with another woman. So he's giving confessional to this priest. But Patty's whole thing before she died, she was like, "I want you to understand. I know you understand." And I don't think she was talking about what Kevin says she was talking about, because he claims that she was saying that basically they're all bad people. But what Kevin Sr. was saying to him in the dream, basically. And I don't think that's what she was saying. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think she was basically talking about like how you shouldn't forget it and like everyone, I don't know. You're going to have to jump in here.
My personal take on it is that the reason they want people to not forget is to not forget that they're bad people.
Okay, sure. Let's take this interpretation. If this is what the GR believe, that they just think everyone is a shitty person and that by moving on from it, you're like basically forgetting that idea. That you're saying, you know, you temporarily were like, oh, all the good people went and we're the pieces of shit that are left. And then by forgetting and moving on, you are basically giving yourself a free pass to return to being a shitty person or whatever. I call bullshit on all of this because all they're doing is pointing that out.
But I don't think their intention is to better themselves. Because
well, then fuck you.
For all intents and purposes, the world is over. Like if this was the biblical rapture,
yes,
the world is over.
Well,
like,
no.
End times are coming, the apocalypse will be here in a few years. Like,
no, Jesus wins and they rebuild the world, Ben. Well,
yeah, but the world ends first. The four horsemen of the apocalypse and all this.
But I don't think like every human on the planet is implied to die in the Book of Revelations. But yes, the world.
I mean, have you read the Bible?
A very long time ago. I went to private school, of course. I've read the Bible. I don't know. I just call fuck you on them because if their entire mission is to point and say, look, you're all shitty, and then if we realise it, they're like, aha, our work is done. Then I say fuck you. Like, do something to try and improve people. Don't like. I mean, I know what you're saying. They feel this is the end. What do you want to do? Just wallow in being shit and accept the end is about to come? Like,
I mean, there's a reason they smoke cigarettes. Like, you don't smoke cigarettes if you're intending to stay alive.
So just kill yourselves. Like, don't.
They do kill themselves.
Kill yourselves quietly in a corner. Like, don't fuck with everyone in the town.
I mean, no, they are horrific people. It is a bad thing that they do, but I do think there is a logic to it, even if it's like a fucked up logic that you kind of have to.
Just to make it your life's mission to say, hey, you're all shit. Stop forgetting that you're shit. Go, here's how shit you are. Here's the mirror to your society. We have no solutions or ideas, just you're all shit. It's just like, well...
I mean, they do have ideas.
Well, no, do they?
They have ideas of things to do. They're just not constructive or helpful to anyone.
Do they just want everyone to be in the GR and smoke themselves to death?
Pretty much.
Oh my god. They could be wrong. Like, they could be wrong, and, like, if people are choosing to, like, take all this a different way, who the fuck are they to, like, insist this upon people? Whatever, the GR suck. So, as part of this, like, conversation with Matt, Kevin says this very, like, beautifully sad thing about how, after the departure, he went to his family to hold them, and now he's losing them one by... Or he started losing them one by one, because, I mean, Tom left the family, Laurie went and joined the GR, and Jill, she's physically living in his house, but you get the sense that, like, they're kind of ghosting through their lives with each other, and, like, she lives there because she has to, or she doesn't know where to go, or whatever. We get the moments where they bond, like, when they exchanged I love yous and whatever, and they will end up in a good place here, kind of, but, yeah, it's a very sad thing to hear him say that, all he wanted was out, and then when all that happened, he was like, God, I'm lucky to have you, because I could have lost you. And then because the family, the things that made him feel that way, I guess, are still there, and the problems with this family are still there, as much as he may want to go along with my reasoning that you should cling the fuck on to everyone you love in an event like this. But yeah, it's very well done.
Justin Theroux, good actor.
Justin Theroux, good actor. Justin Theroux, good actor, heads into the bathroom, crying. Trail of blood on the floor coming out of a cubicle. Not sure I would want to open that door, but hey, he does. Who's sitting on the toilet dying? Wayne. Gunshot. Dying. And he basically has this little Last Request, like Stranger to Stranger thing with Kevin, where they sort of temporarily bond. He's like, I think I might be a fraud, and he's like, can you make a wish so I can tell if I was real or not? And Kevin looks really sad, and then Wayne grins, a very creepy grin, and he says, granted. And then he dies like an animal. It was like Fargo. It was like Billy Bob Thornton in Fargo, it reminded me of. Obviously that's like another level, but yeah, he looks very unnatural in his death. And it's pretty fucked up.
Really well. So what do you think in this moment? What did you think Kevin's wish was? Because I think it's pretty obvious.
To get his family back?
Yeah, it's functionally like his wish is, I want a family, and...
Oh no. Affect show up to interview Kevin. When they learn he's a policeman, they're like, oh, what did you say? I was like, police corruption, it persists. They ask if Wayne mentioned Russia, which is a really lovely sort of bureaucracy bullshit, throw away the government men type thing.
It's one of my favourite things the show does, is that there are layers upon layers to things that are just like in the background of like, they just come up with things. What is Wayne's relationship with Russia? We know he's banging Asian underage girls and getting them pregnant and telling them that the child is like important and stuff like that. But what the fuck's this got to do with Russia?
It's just a terrorist, man. I don't know. They also assert that Wayne thinks he's God. So my previous assertion, I've gone from thinking he is a Native American sin eater to he's trying to make an antichrist for the end of the world to if he thinks he's God, is he trying to create Jesus? To fight the devil at the end of the world. That's so fucked up. Like, if you accept the concept of God and Jesus, but think you are God, and Jesus, you accept, has been written about in the Bible, so must have been real, to then try and make him, or I guess reincarnate, I don't know.
Okay, I'm just going to say, put this in a pocket, okay. We'll come back to it.
Great stuff. So, Kevin and Matt drive home. A riot breaks out, has broken out, because the GR's grand plan for Memorial Day has been revealed. Interesting they did it on Memorial Day and not the 3-year anniversary, though, I think. But we previously saw them buying all these replica corpses. We saw them laying them out meticulously on the floor with all these clothes. We've established Patty has a massive dossier about basically everyone in the town. She's very good at getting information about people, blah, blah, blah. They dress up these corpses using the stolen photos to make the replicas of the departed. They dress them in the clothes they were wearing on the day they were departed, and they put them in the places they were when they departed. You sick fucks. Nora's reaction when she comes downstairs with kind of a smile on her face, walks into her kitchen, and these shitty replicas of her family, just shitty enough to be scary almost, are just sitting there in the clothes they were all wearing, and she's just horrified.
Do you know what my favourite thing about that is? Not that they look like kind of melted pack puppets, but it's just wrong enough.
Yeah.
Like the son and daughter on the opposite side of the table to how they actually were.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I need some logistics about how you know all of this. Like, how...
No, all they know is, I'm sure that they managed to get like the interviews of the CDC or whatever. Or
I was going to say, is the implication they're stealing from Nora's work or whatever? Like,
yeah, like they've got the interviews, and like they've obviously you can almost guarantee that everyone got interviewed about everyone who disappeared.
Oh, yeah. But, like, how could they know what they were wearing? And I don't know, maybe they're just best guessing or whatever, basically.
I mean, again, like, I can almost guarantee you that someone decided, like, we should probably write down what they were wearing in case it had something to do with the fabric of clothes that they were wearing or something like that. Like, yeah, this thing is so huge, no one has any idea what it is. So just, like, sure. Every piece of information is important.
It's mega fucked up. Like, I paused the image to take a photo to send you to be like, here's where I am. And I left it paused for a good 5 minutes while I hung up some washing, because, life happens. And I was like, this is how supervillains are made. Me just with this really haunting image on the TV going about my everyday life and just absorbing this haunting moment. It's scary, and because it's kind of like a day passes, right? Because she finds them in the daytime, and then the riot's happening at night. And
she wakes up in the morning, yeah. So quickly before we move on from that, like when they shot the scene, Carrie Coon came down the stairs and did like a noise that the people on set couldn't describe. And that they eventually cut out.
They take it out, yeah. I was going to say, they just put music over it.
But they also came to her and said, like, how many more do you have in you? And she was like, I can do 2 more. I can do 2 more takes of this scene and I'm done. Like, this is too hard. But, yeah. So the structure of this episode is Kevin and Matt kind of, like, start dealing with Patty, and then we cut back to Mapleton.
Yes.
And we get like a little bit in the GI headquarters with Jill, Meg and Laurie. They go off and do whatever they're supposed to do. We see Nora and the kind of different waxwork puppets throughout the town. And then the about 30 minutes of this episode is just Kevin and Matt. It's like you almost forget.
Yeah, they drop this massive bombshell kind of at the beginning, and then they're like, here's a little Kevin and Matt story, and Wayne, and who knows what's happening over here, and they're like, oh yeah, right, they did this super horrific thing, didn't they? And like, when we next see Nora, she's, like I said, like, she comes down for breakfast and sees them. The riots are happening at night, and then when we next see her, it's morning.
I think it's been 24 hours.
Yeah,
like,
she's just been sitting at the table, and she's stroking the hands of the kids, just sitting at the table, just numb. And she's just sat there, I guess, for 24 straight hours almost, just doing this. It's super fucked up. So when Kevin and Matt, get back, like, people are shooting down the GR in the street. Like,
who is the person who's shooting, Matt?
I don't know. Is it the mum?
It's the mother.
Okay. I assumed probably because random bystanders don't matter. Only this woman who lost her baby matters. Yeah, she ignores Kevin when he's like, hey, stop. Almost shoots him. Complete anarchy has broken out. They find Meg tied to a post, smiling, bleeding, and she writes, we made them remember, and fuck off, basically. I don't think...
I love Liv Tyler in this episode.
Yeah, she's an evil genius.
Yeah, like back in the GI headquarters before they set out, like she's the one that's kind of...
She's pressing it. She's like, should we go? Should we go? Should we go? And
and
Laurie's trying to deal with my daughter's here.
Yeah, like that's the thing is like Laurie is like conflicted because she doesn't want to do this because her daughter's here. Her daughter, who is the worst cigarette smoker in the world.
Yes. Let me show you how to smoke. Yeah, she's very like, it's too dangerous, and we'll see that fear is well founded in a moment. But that goes against what the GR preach, because no emotional connections. Like, this is just all we're here for.
But then when Jill like puts on the Guilty Remnant clothes and stuff like that, the little smile that Meg gives is just creepy.
Meg's got a new pet. Meg, it kind of feels like she was impatient to get to this point of like fucking with people or whatever. Like, I get the sense she's interpreted the GR mission in the most dangerous possible way in some ways. And Laurie's like, she's doing it, but she doesn't believe it. And I don't think Meg believes it either. But like, I feel she wants to do the things, whereas Laurie doesn't. And you kind of get the sense that Meg is a very disturbed human being.
Yeah, like Meg was talking in previous episodes how she just wants to go and punch people and like, beat them up and stuff like that. She's not happy with passive aggressive, like, oh, we're going to put replicas of their family in rooms. She wants to like strap a bomb to them and blow them up.
She's a deeply stupid person. So while Kevin's like, trying to stop all this, the mayor just walks away and says Kevin was right, and I guess she just walks right out of the show.
Yeah, she does. I mean, it's supposed to be a callback to the pilot where she's like, Kevin's just like, people are ready to explode, and then obviously we walk into a massive bonfire and people burning these models and stuff like that, and then Mayor's just like, yeah, fuck, this is awful. And
burning the GR house. Those nice elderly folk burn the dummy of their child with Down syndrome. Like, it's all very dark. Yes, they are burning the house. The houses, sorry. Kevin saves Laurie from an assault, and she frantically, repeatedly says Jill's name. First time we've heard her speak in the present, I believe.
Yes.
So Kevin, heads into the house, saves Jill. There was a dude meditating in the flames, Ben.
Yeah, there was. Every single person that Kevin sees in this house probably dies.
Yup. Because he doesn't really do a huge amount to save them. Yeah, so
he's only the police. He's only chief of police, isn't
he? He does stop another attack, but I think he thought it was Jill, because he like checks this person's face and then he continues on. She did look a bit like Jill, to be fair.
Some of the others didn't.
I've left out kind of a big part of this episode, and I'm going to tack it on here because there's so much other stuff to talk about. But the next morning, Kevin and Jill are walking home. They come across the dog that he tamed. They bring it home with them. They have a dog now. Where they find Nora, who had intended to skip town, was going to leave him a note and to be like, yeah, I'm off, sorry, I can't be here anymore, like, I can't die, I can't live, like, I need to go do something, I don't know what it is, I'm a coward, blah blah blah.
I think I might have loved you.
Yes.
Well, that entire speech delivered by her in voiceover is so heartbreaking.
Yeah, and you can tell she was thinking it all over the entire time she was sitting at that. Well, not the entire time, but all of this. She's had a lot of time to think on what she wants to say, and she possibly is mentally, that narration is potentially in her head as she's sitting there or whatever. But they find her on the porch holding Wayne's baby, left there by Tom, who has gone to Laurie. So the reason this has all happened is the episode actually opens with Christine abandoned the baby and Tom after realising that Wayne was never coming back for them. Like, Tom tries to make a go of it. He's all like, I'll get a job, we'll get a nice place together, it'll all be fine. And she's like, nah, fam. Just leaves it on the floor in a restroom, along with her bag, I think. She just fucks off forever. So yeah, he takes the baby and he comes home. And he leaves it on his porch and then goes to find his mother. And
I don't think he goes to find his mother. I think he's left it with his dad, because I don't think he knows what his mum's been up to. He just goes. He's going to leave it with the only family that he knows. He's like, this is a baby. My mum and dad can take care of it.
And then he just, by chance, comes across...
He just runs it.
Well, him being back is infinitely for the better, because fuck that whole little mission with... I mean, if it ends up all being important and it got us to this thing where Nora has this, like, the child of a paedophile cult leader or whatever, which is a really fucked up place to end the thing. Like, a white woman holding a half Asian, half black baby is an unusual visual to end on. But it seems that Nora has found her purpose, and it might be this new baby. I don't know, because that's where we end things for the season.
Kevin gets his wish. He's got a family.
He's got a family. He's got a dog. He's got Jill. He's got Nora, and he's got a weird possible Antichrist.
Yeah.
And Tommy and Laurie walk off together. Who knows where they're going?
I know where they're going.
You know where they're going. I'm actually quite looking forward to finding out where they're going. After watching the first 4 episodes and being like, yeah, okay, that one was good, but I'm not convinced about this show. I finished season 1 being like, I really want to watch the next 2 episodes, but I can't quite yet because my memory is poor and I'm not going to watch them twice. So I did actually watch the one with Matt twice. 2 boats and a helicopter.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I watched that twice. I watched it and then 3 days later I watched it again. It was really good, both times.
Yeah, I mean, again, the show has now got to a point where it feels like it's figured out who it is, and we have officially finished the book.
Oh, really? That's where the book ends?
The book ends with this literal scene of Nora having the baby, contemplating running away.
Holy shit, what the fuck? I mean, this is fine for a cliffhanger of a season of television. If that was the end of your entire story, I'd say, fuck you, Tom Perrotta.
This is where the story ends, and it's where I kind of came away from the book and was just like, man, this is a really interesting world that I don't think the book sufficiently kind of did anything with. No. And I really want to see...
What story was he... how is the book done? Is it Game of Thronesy, where you do you switch between characters? Is it?
Yes, it is like that. So it's like, here's a chapter about Laurie, here's a chapter about Tom. Nora doesn't get a chapter. She's kind of all her stuff is done through the perspective of Kevin.
Obviously, the male gaze, blah blah blah.
Yeah, but it's basically those 4, and it's his family, and it's about them. And the book ends with the kind of the hope of a new family for these 2. Blah blah blah. There's lots of stuff that's different. The house doesn't burn down in the book. The plan the GR have is different. There's implied lesbian subtext to Laurie and Meg's. Yeah.
Do they do the whole the day before the departure thing, or nope. Is that just for TV? That seems very TV can explore this in a way a book never could. Kind of thing. Yeah. Well,
the book is a fun kind of lesson in how to do an adaptation, but this is one of the best. When people say, "Oh, the book's always better," nah, TV show is a lot better than the book. Because Damon Lindelof is a fucking crazy man.
Yeah. Is there anything in the book that's they basically didn't use it for season 1, but while the main story is over, an element here or there that is in season 2 or 3? Or is the entire thing from here on out entirely original? The
entire thing from here on out is entirely original. There are things that they discussed in the writer's room in season 1 that become part of season 2, season 3, but they were things that were done in the writer's room for the show as opposed to things in the book. So
I don't know if I ever would read the book, but I guess I would if someone listening wanted to read the book but was holding off because of spoilers. I guess they now could without learning anything for season 2 or 3. I guess
there is literally nothing. We are there are characters who are original. Dean isn't in the book. The twins were a lot less important. I don't think the mayor does anything really.
Does the mayor do anything here?
No. I mean, I guess this is now we'll get into it, where we now have 2 more characters who we have to say goodbye to.
Yes.
No more Lucy, and no more Christine. To say hello again to Anne Dowd, who is
not gone. Right. Well, speaking of characters, I guess it's time to update my list. Where we stand at the end of season 1. Character rankings based on likability. As always, Ben, you can choose top to bottom or bottom to top.
You are going to go bottom to top, as always.
Okay. Number 12. He's not a regular, but as this is his last appearance, let's put Wayne in. This man is at best God.
That's a pretty good best. I feel like I should put him at number 1 if he's God.
Yeah, but at worst, and at most likely, a sex offender, cult leader, exploitative con artist who takes people's money, has ruined many, many lives. Number 12.
And has ties to Russia.
And potential terrorist, yeah. Number 11, Christine. She's been stupid the entire time. The reason I always put Tom above her is it seems like Tom has a good head on his shoulders, and it seems like she's been just full-on hypnotised, so I don't know. No, actually, I always put Tom below her for that reason. Sorry, but Tom has done things that have moved him further up this list. But Christine ran out on a baby, and fair enough, Wayne conned you, but you still ran out on a baby and left it on a floor, so it takes a lot to beat that, but Wayne is a paedophile, and many other things. At number 10, Meg, I get it, we're crafting a villain here, but she's dumb as fuck. She doesn't even get to be in the GR, in my opinion. She's just an angry young woman who just wants to mess stuff up, and she sees the GR as a anarchist unit and doesn't understand what they're about, I feel. And also I feel she flip-flops too much, and I'm like, fuck you.
I've said this where Liv Tyler stopped asking the creators for advice on her character because the character kept on changing so much on the script page.
Now, is that on purpose or because they just didn't know what to do with her?
I don't think they knew what to do with her character. I think they figure out what they're going to do with the character going forward. In this episode, they've kind of okay,
cool.
We know what we want to do.
Because
in season 1, it's not clear.
Yeah, because that makes it sound like she was disgruntled and not happy working on the show. But I feel that in the end, I guess she's in it for 2 more seasons. I don't know. But yeah, I feel by the end of it, she was enjoying it. I put Patty at number 9 and Laurie at number 8. I could go either way with them. I guess Laurie, the intense sympathy I feel for the departure moment, and also the fact that I don't know, I both don't respect her for being hypocritical, but also I'm I guess you're not fully brainwashed by this. There is a shred of your humanity left when it comes to Jill and everything. So I don't know, I could go either way with them. Patty, because she's the head of this snake and I think this snake is wrong, I'm no. Number 9 for you, I don't know. Matt, number 7. Again, he hasn't actually done anything bad in ages, and yet he's slipped further and further down these rankings, but I don't know. Actually, no, fuck that. The mayor is below Matt. I guess I wrote these in a hurry. The mayor has been useless all season.
You gave her a free pass early on.
I really did. She doesn't even belong on the list. She's not even a fucking character. Jill has risen a long way up to number 5. I guess seeing a happy young Jill has made me feel more positively about her. Wasn't a fan of her going off to join the GR, but hopefully that's the end of her joining the GR and she's back with Kevin and happy and has a dog, I hope.
No one's happy on this show, man.
No one's happy on this show. Tom, number 4, he finally said fuck you to Wayne. He did leave a baby on a doorstep, but it's better than leaving it on the floor of a gas station, or wherever they are. And again, as I said, seeing the happier, younger him, that was all lovely, and I hope we can return. Maybe we won't go back to that, but harness the warmer side of this character, rather than the stupid, devoted to a dumbass victim of a cult that he is at the moment. And I would hope putting him with Laurie puts him in an interesting place, certainly. Kevin Sr., number 3, he continues to be kind of a badass, kind of sussing things out. He carries with him the mystery, so he will always have a high spot for me unless he does something really, really bad. Burn down a library. Number 2, dog murderer Kevin.
He's come a long way since that first episode.
I know, he will never get number 1 because he murdered dogs. Nora's going to have to do some shit to get ranked below Kevin. Generally, he acts in what I feel is the most rational way of most of the people on the show, even if he does have weird dreams and is going insane. But again, I like the mystery of it, so I'm yeah, have your dreams, dog. Tell me more about your grand purpose. And number 1, Nora. She's a pure sweet angel. I have no justification ever for Nora. She's just wonderful.
She is.
Twins are gone. Dean's gone. Amy's gone. Gladys is gone. And this will be the last appearance of the Mayor and Christine and Wayne, which will bring us down. I don't know if new characters will get introduced. I would hope so. Or maybe we're just going to focus in tighter on the people we've got. That's where we end things on season 1 with the characters. Strong first season in the end. It finished a lot stronger than it started. You had that brief early glimmer of hope with 2 boats and a helicopter. But yeah, I'm glad it turned around because those first few were kind of rough at times. But yeah, I'm very excited for where we go from this.
Yeah, because we're now in the part which is like, this is... Like, most people who watch the first season kind of like, not lukewarm on it, like either you loved it, like you loved the tone, you were fully into it, or you kind of came around and said like, it got better by the end and had some really good standout episodes. Season 2 and season 3 are like, where everyone's like, these are just great television.
And it's a blank slate for Lindelof, and it's like, I think that normally works out for the best. I think when you stick really closely with the source material, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, or whatever. Or when you're tied to a source material, if you follow it too closely or not closely enough, that's when you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Now they're completely free of it, and they can just go in any direction they want, and knowing the
and
Damon Lindelof.
Oh boy, do they go in any direction they want to go in. So what do you want to see going forward? Obviously, like, you've come around, you enjoy the show now more than you did when it was all out dog murder and depression.
Yeah, like, that was a very controversial way to start a show off. I definitely want to see more of this, like, what the hell's going on with Kevin's mind. While Wayne is gone, I would kind of like, even if it's one character just dumping exposition, I would kind of like to know more about... I kind of don't even want that to be teased. I kind of want that just to be established straight up, like what the fuck was happening with that cult. I assume aspects of that cult may remain intact, although without its figurehead, maybe it does just completely collapse. I want Kevin Sr. to get out of that mental health institute. I want everyone who's in the GR to leave the GR. That's never going to happen. I don't know, yeah. It was an odd choice, I thought, to end with. I mean, I guess, new hope, new family, maybe Kevin got his wish, Nora's got something to live for, here's a baby, whatever. But that kind of interests me the least. Even though it's nice, I think that's the least interesting thing that happens at the end of the show.
Well, is that everything is happy again?
Yeah, I guess. But it clearly isn't. Like, hey, what's that letter you're holding? Oh, nothing. Where's this dog come from? Don't worry about it. What's this baby's deal? I don't know. Where's my daughter? Where's my son? Where's my wife? I don't know. It's interesting. It's just, where does that go narratively? Are people going to come for that kid? Probably. Although Wayne was never coming for it, so...
Well, who knows?
Who knows? Ben knows. Well, we will find out. Because we're not going to take a 1 week break or a 1 month break between seasons or anything like that. We will be steamrolling straight into season 2 next week. We are on a tight schedule that ends on October 14th, 2018. Ooh, ominous. I really hope the world doesn't actually end or whatever. Or whatever happens on Countdown to Destruction, as it is named. So yes.
I genuinely am so excited for your confused texts as we watch the next episode.
Oh good. Do they just... Okay, I take it they use season 2 episode 1 as okay, this is what it looks like when we're just completely unshackled. Here's some weird shit, yo! Join us.
Boy, we're going to have fun next week.
Join us next week for the first 2 episodes of Season 2. EnterTheRealWorld.com, SoundCloud.com/Mike and Matt. Check out From Broadcast Depth. I have no idea when me and Mike's Matrix podcast is dropping because we're recording these ahead of time. And I haven't even started editing those at the time of this recording. Who knows? But that's coming. Me and Mike are doing the Matrix trilogy. It's called The Sky Scorchers. Blame Mike Thomas. He is a grand dictator. Whatever. But this is a great name for a podcast. It's called Countdown to Destruction. And we're back next week. Thank you, Ben. Goodbye.